Here we see the pendulum hanger, and notice that I'm bringing my hand down from the top, that everything is perfectly straight. I can barely touch it. I don't want to touch it much, but you can see that everything's pointing straight down. There's nothing that's crooked, because if it were crooked, any part were crooked for any reason, that would make the pendulum length shorter, therefore the clock would run faster. And down at the bottom, that's where you hang the pendulum, and we just need to look at the pendulum to make sure the pendulum is correct and the grid is floating down with the bob. So let's go over to the pendulum. Here we are. Okay, and here's where basically it just connects on the top, and when connecting it onto the pendulum hanger, you do want to do that very carefully, because if you bump the pendulum hanger, it could cause the clock to come out of beat. The pendulum hanger itself hangs from the hook. Then we have the grid, which on the grid it is made to be sliding up and down the main rail. The main rail goes all the way through the pendulum and comes down to the pendulum nut, which controls the length. So if the grid were staying up, like so, but the bob were coming down, it would yield the clock a faster clock. The clock would run faster. If the grid is all the way to the bottom and the nut is down, it should be very close. We had this within seconds a day, and it's the same pendulum, so it should be operating correctly. So I'm sure it's a matter of the grid being higher, or the nut just not being far enough down, or up at the top it may be hung too high. For example, if the hook were actually here and it were hung somehow up higher, that could cause that to happen, because it would be shorter. So it's got to be one of those two things. You should be able to just look into the side of the clock from the glass and determine to make sure the hook is on the end. The hook here is on the end of there, and it's not rising up for any reason. The grid is all the way down, and then your nut adjustment would control it.